Alrighty.
Alrighty. We are live. We have a special guest here today, actually. Not with us regularly here in San Diego. Quick introductions. My name is Paul Poy. I'm CEO and co-founder here at Edge. And we have Alan here, one of our lead front-end devs, here to join us. Normally, actually, where are you at?
Normally, I'm based out of the Bahamas. So
if anyone's over there.
Yeah, if anyone's over there, go swing by Stewart Cove's dive shop. That's where my wife's an instructor, and I generally work from there some days out of the week.
See him on his laptop cranking out new updates to Edge.
Absolutely.
Putting in new screens and whatnot.
It's a great place to work, especially when we've gotten hit with that Arctic weather here in San Diego.
I know. It doesn't look like it, looking at the backdrop over here. But yeah, we've hit kind of like highs in the 50s, which for us is Arctic.
There was ice on the windshield of my rental car this morning when I left my brother's place and went outside. I'm like, seriously? I thought it was just water. I hit the windshield wiper and it did that scratching noise that I haven't heard in 20 years, and it was terrifying.
If you think that we're soft here in San Diego, we're actually pretty tough. We can bear with actual frost.
Yeah.
Anyway, going into this week, we've got a few handful of questions that we like to answer for people, and definitely if you are tuned in live, feel free to go ahead and comment on Periscope, on YouTube, on Facebook. Fire off any questions. We're happy to kind of interject and answer any questions you might have right live as we're going on, and kind of keep in touch with the community. Cool?
Yep.
But some questions that have come across our plate, we'll get into it right now. I'm just going to make sure that I'm actually not missing anything live from folks here on Periscope, so I'll make sure I've got the stream here.
Okay, I've got Facebook covered.
Got Facebook covered. Cool. Now I got Periscope covered. Cool. But some questions that have come across our plate over the course of the week. One was, Lightning has had some hot developments over the course of the past year, and a good handful of wallets are out there now. And we're noticing from that community, people are asking to set the default denomination different from Bitcoin or bits, which is what we use. It's bits being a millionth of a Bitcoin. Setting it instead to Satoshis, which is the smallest unit, 100 millionth of a Bitcoin is that unit. And we're seeing a lot of the Lightning wallets use that. And so people in the Bitcoin world are like, hey, can we set that as a default? We recommend you do it, blah, blah, blah. And it presents some interesting front end challenges and issues. And maybe you can comment on that.
Oh, man, it presents ugliness. I mean, that's so developer problems. You're trying to make things look nice, be easy to look at. And one of the features that I really love, just for simplicity, when you're looking at our wallet and you're on the wallets page and you have all of your different currency wallets there, you can toggle back and forth between crypto and or dollars. So that way, like, I still have issues thinking in terms of, okay, well, I've got 1.32 Bitcoin, and what is that? Like, what am I comfortable trading? What do I want to hold on to? So I like the toggle back and forth there. But then when you get into wallets that have a lot of money in it, so when you get down to Satoshis, that's a whole lot of numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
So then the thing is,
how many numbers is that actually? So if you have one Bitcoin, that comes down to 1, 2, 3, like nine numbers, 100 million.
Yeah,
something like that. 9 numbers for one Bitcoin.
So then if your numbers get even bigger, say you've got 10, 20 Bitcoin or 100,
which some people can have an edge.
Yeah, easily. And if you have 100, can I borrow one?
Yeah, exactly. Send a couple our way.
But the number just gets to be so huge, and then you may have named your wallet my usual Bitcoin wallet that I spend with, or some ridiculously long string. And so now you've got this stuff colliding. So from just a visual standpoint, we like to make things a little bit simpler where, depending on where the price is at given times too, like, a year ago when a Bitcoin was 20 grand,
right,
then people getting started had much smaller, where, the bits is definitely a good way to see what you have, or getting all the way down to, oh yeah, you can get started with $5, and then, well, if you're at bits, you still end up with a whole lot of zeros before your number. So really, the reason why we keep the default at bits, it seems to be like a happy medium, so you're not discouraged seeing just a whole lot of zeros and then a couple little numbers. Or if you are in the space, and we like to think that we're more than just a wallet for beginners, having been Airbits for 4 years and having a steady customer base that has substantial funds in their wallets, hopefully, those long numbers get to be
A little more intimidating.
little more intimidating and tough to deal with from a design perspective. And
Yeah.
as a developer, we like to make things as easy as possible on us.
Yeah. Actually, Alan brings up a good point that I hadn't thought about, is that unlike most wallets, Edge actually lets you name your wallet with an arbitrary string. And that might be something as small as my ETH, or it could be my kid's college tuition fund for 20 years from now. That you could kind of name either thing. And you'll notice that in Edge, the left side of the wallet list is the name, and the right side is the amount.
Yep.
Those two at some point kind of collide.
Yeah, you just got to figure out where you want to have that truncated.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. Like how much space do we want to allocate to the name of the wallet versus the amount? And when you start changing denominations into things like Satoshis, more likely you're going to start to truncate or collide that value amount and compromise.
You have the ability to do that if you want to go into settings and set your preferences to be that.
Well, currently don't set. We allow as low as bits. Like
Okay.
Satoshi isn't currently an option. It's something that we could add, but I think the question and suggestion that came on our plate was, could you make it the default?
Oh yeah, no, not the default, but adding it as I don't see any problem with adding it as an option, especially for people that are starting out.
Yep.
But I'm one of those guilty people on the really funky names because I've got one wallet that's hooray, I'm going to the World Cup in 2026.
Right.
And
Exactly.
and that's where I put my little bit of World Cup savings, and I'm hoping that
Exactly.
by then that little bit of savings will pay for a month of bouncing around.
Right, exactly. And I notice a lot of the people that are kind of creating this suggestion and this recommendation come from their interest in Lightning. And admittedly, Lightning right now are very small amounts, like typically no more than $10 or what you're sending on Lightning. It excels at micropayments. So it makes sense that wallet is denoted in something fairly small, right? Like a Satoshi. Because then you could say, hey, send me a couple Satoshis. That just wasn't possible before. You couldn't send a couple Satoshis. Well, now you can. As opposed to saying, send me 0.02 bits. So I see that. But once again, where do we straddle the line between like a micropayment wallet versus one that actually is designed and built to hold more substantial amounts?
Well, and that's actually a question I'd like to put out to our customers and viewers here is, what do you set up your wallet list to look at? Are you like me, and do you toggle it over to fiat so that way you're processing all the different exchanges and you just actually see what you have, and then you can toggle it back when it comes time to trade or whatnot? Because to me, the whole concept of Lightning was to be able to facilitate fast transactions with the whole micro thing. So if I'm sending you $10, mentally, to me, I'm sending you $10, and whatever that is in whatever currency, cool. And so that's another thing that I really dig about our wallet is when you get to our send and receive pages, and also on the exchange, we've got our little flip input that gives you not only dollars and or the crypto, but you can also enter and think in dollars. And
Right. And I think it's a good reason why it's coming from kind of the LN community and advocates is because the amounts are so small that you can send that you can't even think of them in dollars.
Yeah.
Right. They're actually sub fractions of a penny at that point, where like I don't think in $0.0001. It's so small that in a way the Satoshis or the bits become actually a little bit more comprehensible. So I can understand it coming from that community. And so maybe actually this is good feedback in the sense that should wallets that try to accomplish both, being like a normal large fund Bitcoin storage wallet that then has also your LN wallet, which has a channel open to something else, to an LN provider, actually use potentially different denominations for both, meaning one is denoted in, they both can be denoted with dollars with current exchange rate, but one saying, okay, here's your Bitcoin amount, and then in your LN wallet, here's your Satoshi amount, because you're sending these tiny amounts, and you have the option to switch and have them independent. Like right now in Edge, you change your Bitcoin denomination, but that hits all of your wallets, all of your Bitcoin wallets, whereas with the introduction of something like Lightning Network, you might have a Bitcoin wallet that is LN, which could have a different denomination, and that would actually, that would make sense, and it's good to keep in mind as the industry matures. But
so for those that ask that question and are really hot on the idea, continue to send us feedback that says, hey, I would like to designate one of my wallets as a Lightning Network wallet and be able to default that
one specific one.
Yeah, because that sounds like.
Yeah. Well, we don't currently have Lightning, so but we're actively looking at it, and if we had that's probably going to be one of the things we consider.
Right, but being able to designate specific denominations for wallets, I mean, that's going to be an interesting.
A little challenge for us for sure.
That's some engineering complexity that
Yep.
it's the whole. But dude, it looks easy.
Yeah, looks easy. It sounds easy. So another simple question. This should be a quick and easy answer, but we got asked on Twitter. Someone who said, "Hey, just got a new phone. How do I actually restore my Edge wallet on my new phone?"
Download it,
and then log in, and that's it. So we actually keep it pretty simple. You download the app, log in. You got your username and password, and log in. Of course, the corollary to that is, well, then, so who holds my keys? Does Edge hold it, or do I hold it? And the answer is we hold an encrypted copy of the keys. The user is the one that holds and can access the unencrypted copy that can actually spend money. So we're kind of a hybrid in the sense that we find that the biggest challenge is obviously loss of keys. We provide infrastructure that holds keys so that they don't easily get lost, but we don't have direct access to those funds. Only the user can decrypt them. So quick answer to it. Good question, because a lot of people actually don't realize that. They think that they see a username and password and it's a fully custodial service, which we aren't. Cool. All right. Other stuff in the kind of the world of crypto and news. Samsung. I know you kind of had your eye on the news of Samsung launching a new phone, the S10. I know we're kind of iPhone guys.
Well, I'm interested in it just because I've played and worked on Samsung projects before and whatnot. I mean, I still like my iPhone, but there's a whole lot that I just don't know yet about it. And we were talking, so some of the questions, like, okay, so Samsung supposedly is going to be able to secure private keys. Well, what does that mean? Is it a wallet? Is it just the keys are somehow secured at a low level that if you want to write a wallet app on top, you can access through an API? Is that API going to be open source? Is it going to, there's a whole lot of really, what did Maverick say? Really cool buzz because you said Samsung. Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly.
Or cryptocurrency. And so.
Yeah, there's a lot of buzz because the two words combined make for interesting storylines. But the devil's in the details. Like, what does that actually mean? And I actually was in Ethereum DevCon just late last year, and I sat actually at a really intimate kind of like chat and conversation only about 12 people at an after event, and one of the leads of Samsung doing cryptocurrency was at that event asking a lot of questions about wallets and security and what people run into, and the thing that I got out of that conversation is that Samsung doesn't have a good answer for one of the biggest challenges in key management, which is how do you back up the key? Like, sure, there's a way to store it. Storing is only half the problem. How do you actually back it up? Are you going to then still display the key to the user on the screen that they have to write down, and you trust that they write it down in a good place and that they don't lose that?
Yep.
So
lose your phone?
They honestly were like, yeah, we're not sure what exactly to do about that. And I can only speculate as to what this exactly means as far as their integration. It says that a way to store private keys. They didn't say they're building a wallet into the hardware. They're saying that you're providing a way to store private keys. A lot of Android phones actually already have this. They already have a secure element. We use it actually to help store private keys inside of Android and iOS devices. Now the question is, can they sign transactions? They technically could, given the right software. Now the question, though, is, well, what's the API to get access to it? Is it going to be a Samsung-only API? Will it be open to Android? And then what type of signatures will it support? Because there are different formats of signatures supported by different cryptocurrencies. Is that programmable?
I don't see that. Okay, especially from having dealt with the television world before and whatnot. Samsung is a massive company, and that's why it's sexy to say Samsung Bitcoin. But this is so not their area of focus or expertise. And
they are a big enough company where they could put a tiny department.
They could throw
and be bigger than the largest cryptocurrency company.
Well, they could throw a lot of money at it.
A lot of money at it.
But And that actually circles back to kind of us as a team. And okay, here's this announcement, and we don't know what it is. And then looking here, we've got another topic down the road about the Ethereum hard fork and how you know, how do we as a company take a look at what's going on in the news and
shift
and pick our battles on what we're going to prioritize.
Right.
Our next piece of development. Also, send us your suggestions.
Right. Actually, it brings up a good point because a company like Samsung is challenged with agility in the sense it's hard to be agile as a company that size versus a startup. And if you look at the challenges that are thrown your way as a cryptocurrency startup, you have to be insanely agile. Like what you could put out a roadmap for 3 months, and that's not a very long time. In the middle of that 3 months, you're throwing curveballs left and right that throw wrenches into your roadmap of what you want to build. Everything from a hard fork of one currency to a split of another, and protocol change of a different currency, and all of that are the kind of things that a lot of established companies such as Samsung don't have to deal with. So what I think could happen is, sure, they built something to do private key storage, and that private key storage can do signatures, and it could maybe even display it for backup onto your phone in a secure element portion of the screen. Maybe they put it literally in the back, so like this screen in the back of your phone can't be accessed by anything but this secure, hardware storage of the key to write down and back up, so that way no one else is faking it, right? You're not getting, and no one's screen capturing it. But it will probably also be limited in the sense that what kind of signatures it can create. And the ability for them to change that on the fly will be challenging. So say something like Schnorr signatures start to come out. Will they be able to support something like that into the hardware? Can the company start pivoting and adding that kind of support? They'll probably be significantly slower at it. So I would say...
Well, isn't that also true with a lot of hardware-based solutions? I mean, anytime that you're in that realm, it's, okay, well... the hardware itself might not be capable, and we have to wait until the Samsung S11
So correct. Exactly. Hardware definitely changes much more slowly, but large companies building hardware change even slower.
Right.
And so like the two hardware companies now, Trezor and Ledger, have quickly been able to incorporate many different cryptocurrencies over the course of the past 4 years and ramp that up pretty quickly. They're small, fairly agile teams, and to stay competitive, you have to be up to the times, right? And the battle still ensuing as to who will be the long-standing players.
Right, but their focus is
crypto.
They're a hardware wallet company.
Correct.
They're not a television, watch, cell phone,
rice cooker, and battery. So it's interesting, and they realize that they're competing with a lot of other behemoths. Samsung is a behemoth, but they're competing with Apple as well, and they're looking for any kind of competitive advantage that they can get. And this is one. This is no question about it. This is a competitive advantage to some people, and so it's fair for them to consider it. I applaud them for doing it. I think there's still some challenges and open-ended questions. We don't know what it's going to look like, and we can only project. And the projection that I have is, unless they're building a default wallet into the app that uses the hardware, which would compete with a lot of the crypto companies such as ours, unless they're doing that, then this secure section of the phone that they're providing isn't a whole lot different than what already exists on most Android phones. A way to create, store, and sign messages, transactions inside of a more secure enclave on the phone. That actually already exists today. Now, how well integrated it is with the user-facing portion of it, like, is there a dedicated screen to show your key, a dedicated screen to show like what address you're transacting with? That way, malware can't interject and change the screen, in front of you. You think you're signing to go to address 1BAF when really you're sending it to 1BAD, right? Yep. Those type of things are where they really truly vertically integrate the hardware, the software, multi-screen, where they take an extra leap forward in security. That's where it becomes a little bit more interesting. But then the big question still means that still hasn't been solved by them is how do you back up the key? Are they going to be able to answer that? And at least in my conversations with one of their leads, they're still and they don't like the asking their user base. Like the Samsung user base reaches far beyond the crypto world, and they're not about writing down anything.
No,
they're not about writing any of that down. So
nobody is, and that's one of the reasons why we like our solution, because the days of writing something down like that and storing that piece of paper somewhere. I have several of them somewhere across 3 moves, and I have no idea where they are, and that's just
we're digital world.
Yeah, it's lost. So so
it's interesting news.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for Samsung's M&A department to contact us. $10 billion.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So we'll see how that works. But you know, I'd love to hear a little bit more details when that starts coming out.
Well, the most exciting thing about that piece of news, and then we can move on to the next topic, is just now you've got a behemoth company saying, "All right,
crypto,
we're going to do something."
Right.
And so
it's big enough for them to care about it.
Yeah, and so that starts to get us to these stages of critical mass where, okay, there's the adoption. It's not just the geeks that are into this, but the big guys are starting to look at it and say, you know, what do we do with it, and where's it going to go? So that's a really exciting thing while we're still in this, I think, extremely early adopter phase of this whole industry.
Yep. It just gets more eyes on it because you get publications that are outside of CoinDesk and are hitting like New York Times and the general population. So good news. Good news overall.
Yep.
We've only got a few minutes left, maybe like 5 minutes. We started late, so we'll end a little bit on the late side.
Okay.
But talk about Bitmain and the new chip that they just pushed out, a 7-nanometer chip. And in the world of process technology, I'm not sure how familiar you are with like size of chips, and they're getting smaller and smaller each year. I used to work in semiconductors when I worked at NVIDIA, and I think when I left, we were at 0.19, or much larger than 7. Like this was many years ago, and so 7 nanometer sounds almost unreal relative to what last time I worked in the semiconductor world. But
well, you were almost at vacuum tubes at that stage.
I wish that I could that I could look this good at 100, you know. But sorry. No, I'm unfortunately younger and still losing hair. So, but can chips keep getting smaller? We do start to hit kind of the limits of physics. But an interesting thing to note with this launch of a new 7-nanometer and first 7-nanometer mining chip is that if you look at when mining chips first came out, ASICs first came out, they were using really, really old chip technology. You know, whatever we were currently on, I think it was 2013 when ASICs started to come out, maybe even as early as 2012. So at least in 2013, they were using tech from 2008 in 2013 because, well, it was already an order of magnitude faster than a GPU. Right. They were just hugely faster, and they were super cheap. Right. And these tiny little mining companies, Bitcoin was tiny. Like there wasn't much money to be made, so you aren't going to spend a ton of money on bleeding edge chip technology, right? Just use the 6-year-old tech and blow everyone out of the water. Yep. And then we noticed in the course of like from 2013 to 2015 or even 2014, we went from the like 6-year-old tech to the most current tech, and then we were effectively just plugging away at the most current tech.
Whatever comes down to the line, we'll repurpose it, and then finally, it's making enough money, and the miners, the
miners are now kept up to the current latest tech.
Yep.
What I think we might be seeing with 7-nanometer tech, and this is the thing I should have researched before this discussion, which is what other chips in the world are on 7-nanometer that aren't mining? Because I have a prediction that in time, the first chips to come out on a new process technology will be mining chips, not the next generation Intel CPU, not the next NVIDIA, graphics chip, not the next supercomputer. Like when they come up with 5-nanometer chips, maybe not 5, maybe further down the line, but I think mining chips will actually be first and foremost.
Well, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's got a specific purpose and use, and if you look at everything that has happened across our lifespan in tech, there's certain things that drive everything else behind it.
Right.
The reason that we're talking to you guys you could go full screen and have a nice stream of video versus those old days of the little timestamp. Video drove bandwidth.
And porn drove video.
My mom might have been watching, so I didn't want to mention that part of it. But yeah,
I know my mom's not watching. She's in Tahoe right now. She's got poor internet connection.
So yeah, but that was the whole thing. It was don't give me 20 minutes to download a JPEG. I want video.
Right.
And
so crypto is driving some process technology.
Yep.
And for the same reason that NVIDIA graphics cards and ATI graphics cards sell for like a 5x premium when cryptocurrency prices are high, that same motivating factor could be the reason why cryptocurrency mining chips end up leading in the process tech, because there's actually more money to be made in making those chips because they make money.
Yeah.
Like, they're chips that make money. True, a graphics chip makes money, but there's so many unknowns in between manufacturing the graphics chip and when it makes money. There's marketing and this and this and that.
Where this literally stamps out.
This one has a more direct correlation to the chip comes out and here's how much it costs to do a 5 nanometer or 7, and this is how much money it makes. So there's a much more direct correlation, and especially when the prices are high, that correlation blows away the returns that you could have spending that new process tech, that 5 nanometer or whatnot, on a graphics card.
Right.
And so I don't know that I should actually really look up, like, heck, what are we producing in 7 nanometer right now? Like, what's Intel putting out? What's AMD putting out in 7 nanometer? But I have a feeling in a few more years, the first thing to launch will actually be a mining chip. And also because mining chips are actually incredibly simple. They are just bone dead, super simple chips, whereas graphics cards are insanely complicated. They're probably the most complicated chip that we make today, more complex than some of the CPUs. And so why risk this new process tech, which is incredibly unstable, on a very complicated chip versus a very simple one that just makes money? So I think we're actually going to be pushing the edge of chip technology with this industry versus Intel and CPUs and graphics card over the next 5 years.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
And also where release a 7 nanometer chip, when does everything catch up and start using it?
Like, when is the rest of the other industry?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So obviously Bitmain having very close ties, and obviously, although they posted a pretty significant loss, and that's kind of to be expected, the decline in cryptocurrency. Like, their revenue is tied to Bitcoin and all the coins that they mine. So when those go down, their revenue goes down.
Right.
They're one of the few industries in the world that's so directly tied to the price of crypto. But otherwise, they do have heavy resources and close ties with chip manufacturing and are able to get into new process tech quickly, whereas other companies probably don't have that ability. But I'm going to say that they're probably going to have to get on that quickly to be competitive. Right? Once a new process comes out, either you hop onto it or you die over the next few years. So I'm assuming other mining chip manufacturers will be on it pretty soon, the Bitfuries of the world. Yep. Cool. All right.
Right on.
So we are pretty much at a good half hour of our time.
Yep.
So for those of you that are wondering where we're going to be next, in case you want to kind of hang out in person, we just had a meetup last night, actually. Kylan Hurt, one of our front-end devs who hosts our monthly blockchain developers meetup, talked about Grin and what he experienced trying to operate a mining pool. But next week, what is that, February 28th, we have another meetup hosted just a couple blocks away from our office if you're in San Diego. We have Caleb Slade from Salt, who's going to be coming by and giving an update on what they're up to over at Salt, as well as Crypto Wendy O. She's going to be talking about technical analysis, which is what she does on her YouTube channel, really popular in the social media space. As well, we'll be part of the San Diego Convergence throughout next week, I think like Wednesday through Friday. There's a crawl that is going to happen between different startups on Friday next week, and we're going to be part of that. So if you're in the area, definitely hit us up. Hit us up on social media. We'll let you know where to go. And definitely come check out Caleb and Wendy over at the meetup on Thursday next week, February 28th. Cool.
Right on.
All right, now you're headed back.
Yeah, I'm on the red eye tonight, back to Nassau.
Cool, man. If you're over in the Bahamas,
Yep.
Give Alan a buzz. Cool.
I'm easy to find.
All right.
And also send us your suggestions.
Send us the suggestions, questions.
Questions, suggestions. What would make our app better for you?
Cool. And we should be actually having Caleb, our first guest on our live Q&A on Friday next week. So tune in for that. I got to confirm that, but expect that it will happen. Cool.
Right on.
All right, take care,
Thank
everybody.
y'all. See ya.